Hello and welcome everybody to today's webinar, How to Jumpstart Business Central Production Scheduling. My name is Martin Karlovic and I'm your host for today's webinar. As always, a couple of housekeeping things first. So you are all on mute because we don't want to get disturbed by background noises, but of course you are cordially welcome to start any kind of conversation or discussion or Q&A with me. So you have the opportunity to ask questions during the webinar using the GoToWebinar chat pane. And typically when I'm on PowerPoint, I will answer them right away. But if I'm doing a demo, I won't see your questions and then I will collect them and ask them typically at the end of the webinar. So if you don't want to ask questions during the webinar, but if you have some follow-up discussions that you want to have, then feel free to reach out via email or on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Email and LinkedIn preferred. But if you prefer Twitter, then I'm happy to also chat with you on Twitter. So I'm CEO and co-owner of NETRONIC, and I'm our sponsor, executive sponsor for everything that we do with respect to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, and also what we have been doing for Dynamics NAV. Today's topic, how to jumpstart production scheduling with Business Central, is a bit different than the topics that we had before. So most of the webinars that we ran in the past were more, let's say, product and feature oriented, and hence there was typically a bit of PowerPoint slides and concepts first, and then a lot of demo. Today, we will flip this a little bit around, and we will look at a topic, how to jumpstart production scheduling, in quotes, with Business Central, because like everything we do with respect to this audience today is with respect to Business Central. But as it is how to jumpstart production scheduling, it would be wrong to jump into a demo and show you a production scheduling software, because typically the things that you need to do before you start production scheduling actually happen before you work with a scheduler. So the webinar is more about concepts, more about ideas, more about experiences that we gained in hundreds of production scheduling customers that we have in the NAV Business Central space. And this is about sharing some experience we gained working with these hundreds of customers, what actually you as a partner can do to make your customer ready to jumpstart with production scheduling at Business Central, and also what you as a customer can do to get ready to jumpstart your production scheduling with Business Central. Of course, at the end of the webinar, maybe in the last third of the webinar, there will be product demos that I show you some examples on how a jump-started production scheduling can look like. But before this, of course, let's talk about what you can do, what you should do in order to be ready to start with production scheduling and Business Central. And of course, the obvious answer to the question how to jumpstart Business Central production scheduling is this. So use a visual production scheduling extension. This is, of course, if you talk to somebody like me who represents a visual scheduling partner for Business Central, then this is the answer to, okay, what should a jump-started Business Central production scheduling look like? But although the answer to this, like apply a visual production scheduling extension or apply a visual scheduling production add-in if you're still on NAV, although this is the obvious and maybe also easy sounding answer to this implicit question, like how should I jumpstart Business Central production scheduling, in order to get here, in order to get to this visual schedule, there are a lot of traps that wait for you, and there are a lot of traps that you can fall into. And I want to spend now maybe next 20 to 30 minutes on looking at these traps that actually prevent you from just doing something like this. And some of these traps that are in front of you, that you're just waiting for you, they are physical and they are real, but some of them, they are also they are mindset related. But like everything that is mindset related, that may taste good, or it might smell good, or it might taste like comfortable. And in the end, I think there are really 6 of these traps that prevent you from jump-starting production scheduling with Business Central, or we can also call it like top 6 factors killing a Business Central production scheduling jumpstart. And I will first share them with you, or list them, and then we will go one after the other, detail by detail by detail. And then after that, I have actually 2 demo cases where I share with you first what I did against these top 6 factors, and then I show you to which product and which solution this leads, and how this product and this solution may look like and may work for you or for your client. But let's first look at these 6 traps that actually, and if you fall into one of them, then it will be hard to kickstart or to jumpstart production scheduling with Business Central. And the first one is, if you rate perfection bigger than pragmatism, or if you have a customer who looks for the perfect solution and who is like either unable or unwilling to be pragmatic, then boom, this is a trap. Then if you go for perfection, you bite into this bit of cheese and smash no production scheduling, most likely for a given period of time. The second kind of trap to fall in this, the second like really hazardous thing that can happen to any production scheduling initiative is if you fall into what I would call the master data paralysis. If you deal too much with master data, if you're concerned with master data too heavily, and this can have 2 flavors, then you think about master data, you deal about master data, you have doubts about your master data, you are concerned about your master data, you tweak your master data, you deal with your master data, master data, master data, master data. And for all those activities circling around your master data, you will never jumpstart production scheduling, because there is just another master data to take care of or to be concerned about. The third trap is like, if you face a situation where you have a mismatch of the purpose and the tool. When it comes to planning and scheduling, there are actually different purposes, and different purposes justify different types of tools. And if you don't get this aligned, you may kind of you may think you're running into scheduling effort, but you use the wrong tool, or you use the right tool, but you apply it for the wrong purpose. So there must be a match between the purpose that you have and the tool that you go for. Then this is a bit broader than this, but it goes into the same direction like purpose. You need to have a direction of where you want to go with production scheduling. You or your clients need to be clear of why they need production scheduling. And this must be more than just having a fancy visual production scheduling, a fancy gunshot or whatever. It must be clear what they want to achieve with it. Is it improve delivery time commitments? Is it improving on-time deliveries? Is it reducing setup time? Is it reducing cycle time? Is it better transparency? Is it more shop floor agility? Whatever it is, this must be clear, because again, depending on where you want to go, you might either need different tools, or you need to use the same tools in a different way. So the direction must be clear. If the direction is not clear, most likely you run in circles. And you know this, if you get into a car and you drive somewhere, but you don't know the direction, then it may take you longer to get you to your goal. And then maybe then the journey is the target, but obviously when you go on production scheduling, you want to kind of get this going rather than to run in circles. The fifth factor that kills a production scheduling jumpstart is if you like ignore or are unaware of the fact that something exists that I call the scheduling fitness. And if you're unaware of this, then you may actually rate your or your client's scheduling fitness wrong because you don't know about it. And then you either advise or select the wrong tool. So actually, I think scheduling fitness is something that you can measure. And then depending on how you measure it and what you measure and how good the fitness level is there, you can apply different tools and different methodologies. And last but not least, kind of the last trap to fall into is if you have, or if your customers have a do-it-yourself mentality. Like if you think scheduling is trivial because it is visual and you try to do everything on your own, or your customer tries to do everything on their own, then most likely they will not come to a satisfactory benefit and a satisfactory value fast. So these are the 6 traps, and now I gave some thoughts on them already by introducing them, but let's have a closer look at them one after the other. So the first trap is if you rate perfection higher than pragmatism. So if you strive for perfection, you will go nowhere. The strong recommendation when it comes to scheduling, strive for progress. Strive for one step after the other instead of striving for perfection. If you go for perfection, if you look for the perfect solution, then most likely you will spend your time looking, but you will not spend your time scheduling. And I really often hear this from customers that and even when we bring customers live, then they look at their schedule and then they say, hey, the schedule is wrong. And then they say, okay, this is cool. Because a wrong schedule, a bad plan is better than no plan. If you already have a plan, then you can progress. Then you can learn from it. But this having a bad plan, looking at it and recognizing that is bad and then learning from it and progressing and improving is better than having no plan and striving for the perfect plan. Plus, if we really think about like the word scheduling and what is meant with scheduling, and I will come to this later again, with scheduling, you look into the future, right? Because you don't schedule activities, you don't schedule production orders from yesterday, but you schedule production orders that are meant to be worked on today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, next week, in 3 weeks, in 4 months, depending on what your planning horizon is. So with scheduling, you always look into the future. And like the future is subject to uncertainties, and the future is determined by uncertainties. So it is really dangerous to go for a perfect plan, because like the future is not perfect and you cannot predict the future perfectly. So I really recommend that you establish willingness to live and work with an imperfect plan and an imperfect solution, because in the end, a not so perfect plan is better than no plan. Plus, if you go and look for software that meets all your requirements, most likely this is very expensive. And maybe it also takes long to implement. I do not know. But if you look for the perfect software, I would sense that the vendor that sells you perfect software is aware of that he or she sells perfect software, and this will have a price. I openly say that our software is not perfect, but it gives you a lot of room to progress. And the thing with software being perfect is also the software may perfectly match and meet your requirements in the moment when you purchase it. However, I mean, we are living in unstable times, and we live in times where like change seems to be the only constants that we have. So it is very likely that your requirements will change, and this means that the software that meets your requirements perfectly today might not meet them perfectly tomorrow. And then you have to look again for the perfect solution or again optimize. And hence, it is much better to kind of embrace the fact that your scheduling software and your schedule never is perfect, but that is something where you strive for constant progress. To me, this is really important to get this mindset right. Then the second trap that you can fall in is what I call the master data paralysis. So that you're too concerned for too long on your master data. And I think there are a lot of people actually on the world who live from just tweaking master data. It is not us, but I think if you are in this trap that you are dealing and are concerned about master data too significantly that you prevents you to get your scheduling activities kicked off, then there are two cases, and the one is easy to solve, the other is really hard to solve. So the easy one to solve is if you miss data. And I will come to this in a minute again. The master data related case that is really harder to solve than if you miss data is if you have like smart asses in quotes in your company. So if you have people who look at whatever master data you have, and then they find, like, if they say, oh, the runtime, the average runtime for this item is 7.883 minutes and it's not 8. Or if they say, oh, I looked at our routings and the routings are 13 steps, but I think it should be 14 operations. Or they said, hey, well, for this step, we need to add additional 10 minutes of setup times. Or who look at the things and say, oh, well, have we considered that we may have a change in demand due to this factor and that factor and that factor. So if you get into this kind of discussion and see this notion in the phase where you're looking at production scheduling, then you really have a problem. And then you need to solve one first. You need to get pragmatic. For scheduling purposes, it really doesn't matter if this is 7883 or 8. It really doesn't matter. It would even really, I think it doesn't matter if it's 7.883 or 10. But that's just me. Maybe I'm a bit too pragmatic. But get pragmatic with the assumptions. Get pragmatic with the master data. And then based on pragmatic master data, build a schedule and then progress it from there. This one here, if you miss data, this is easy to solve. You can make the data. And again, you have all the rights, both as a partner or as customer, to first apply a minimalistic approach. Like the entire software industry, I think, became much, much more valuable for their clients when they started to build software following the minimum viable product approach. Have a product that brings a minimum viable value to customers and then grow it from there with the customer. And the same is true I would say the same is true for master data when it comes to scheduling. Start with the minimal viable master data that you need for scheduling and then grow it from there. And if you wonder what a minimalistic approach in terms of master data for scheduling is, then let's very quickly think about what scheduling is. And scheduling is achieving an equilibrium. So with production scheduling, you want to balance out things in your shop or in your customer's shop. And namely, you want to balance the supply of your internal resources with the demand of your internal resources. If you have like too much, if you would have too much demand for your internal supply, then this will break. Or if you have like too much capacity and too little orders, then there would also be a disbalance in your shop. And with scheduling, you want to achieve this kind of equilibrium. And so in order to think about what kind of data do you need for scheduling, well, you need data about your internal resources, and you need data about the demand for these internal resources. This is all what you need. You need data to describe supply and demand for your resources. And the supply of internal resources is described by work and machine centers in Business Central. And the demand for internal resources is described for production orders. So if you want to get going with production scheduling Business Central, and if you really take care for just minimal data, then set up work and machine centers with at least one shop calendar. Because the shop calendar that you have in Business Central, this is the minimal feasible definition of capacity. And then set up production orders. And these production orders should have a due date, as this is the minimal feasible definition of when. And the nice thing with Business Central is the due date is populated automatically, so don't care about it in the first go. And what is really important, you need to have a routing, because the routing gives you the minimal feasible definition of the demand, of the who and the how long. So I meet customers and said, oh, we don't have the routing. I thought we would get it from you. Well, no, a routing is not the result of a scheduling process, but routing is an input variable. And you can be very broad with it in the very beginning. You can be very rough. If you have a multi-stage production process, just build the routings for the 2 or 3 work cells or machine centers that are really crucial for you, where you want to get your arms around first, and then work with rough data. If you cannot look at historic data for those routings, make assumptions. But with making assumptions, you will get a minimum viable plan. And then you know that the data that leads to this plan is not perfect, but you have a plan. And then you see, okay, well, maybe this runtime where I put in 8 should be 12 is more realistic on average for this item. Okay, but here I have a variant of this item, and then the runtime is less. So Business Central allows you to do this, and this is not rocket science. It must not be sophisticated. It can really be easy. But if you set this up like from a master data point of view, you are already good to go with a scheduling software that can really help you to get your arms around what is happening on your shop floor. Then the third trap that you could fall into is a tool and purpose mismatch. And this is actually something that I see very often. I see this as often as like the danger going for perfectionism instead of being pragmatic. And what I mean with this is, and now this is not a language play, but I think this is real. We need to differentiate between planning and scheduling. And we also need to differentiate between planning, scheduling, and execution. And I see a lot of customers mixing this. And you see what I have here are drills. So this is a drill, this is a drill, and this is a drill. Okay, so now imagine. But you see all these drills, and all these drills, although they fall into the same product category. Like you may say, okay, an execution solution and a planning solution and a scheduling solution, they fall into somewhat the same software category. All these drills, they are purposely made to fulfill a different task. So just imagine you're going to the dentist and you wait for the dentist to come and to work with this tool. And then this guy shows up. That would be scary, right? Or just imagine you would want to drill for whatever, oil, and then somebody shows up with this tool. This will not work. And this may sound silly, but this actually happens day in and out in scheduling projects. And one of the reasons is that people don't make this differentiation. Okay, I need to drill if I want to drill in tooth. I need to drill for my home construction, and I need to drill if I want to drill a huge hole into the ground. And the best like approach to kind of avoid this tool and purpose mismatch is if you differentiate along the time. If you conceptually think about planning horizons in your company. And the slide that we show is something that I found from my from our partner Shune Losse from Use Dynamics from Denmark. And by the way, Denmark, congratulations for a fantastic 4-1 win yesterday night at the Euro Championship. But now back to, and I was really happy for you guys, by the way, although I'm not Danish. But now let's get back to different planning horizons that require different planning tools. It is really, really important that you think about planning horizons because they help you select the right tool for the right purpose. So if we look at the timeline, at the time scale, you see I have like this doubled line here. This stands for today. And everything that was before today is actually in the past, right? So this is in the past. We are looking back into the past. Then we have like today. Today is where rubber hits the road. So this is where stuff is happening on the shop floor, where we are hopefully wildly executing things that were planned before. And then like sometimes after today, we start looking into the future with scheduling and planning tools. And each of these like phases have different requirements and need different tools. So for reporting, obviously, you look into the history and there you need tools like BI and costing. You have KPIs and dashboards. Power BI is awesome. You need to do some cost calculations. But this, looking back, is nothing that you should expect from the planning or scheduling software. We won't give you KPIs to look back. We won't give you data on cost calculation. This is different purpose, different tools. With planning and scheduling from today, we look into the future. However, I also would make the strong point to make a differentiation between what is happening today and what comes after. So for today, you should think about working with, like if you want to work with standard business with work order list or with a shop floor control system, with time and attendance system, with a manufacturing execution system. So there are really great tools that help you manage your shop in real time. This is not necessarily what a scheduling software does. A scheduling software, and then you can, when it comes into the future, when it comes beyond today, you can differentiate even more time frames. You can say, okay, there is a period of time that comes after today where I really want to have an operational schedule for my shop. I want to schedule with finite capacity and I want to sequence my production orders. I want to make the decision which production order to produce when, on which machine, which priority. I want to get my arms around my bottlenecks. I want to manage them. I want to schedule critical items. So really down to earth operational scheduling against finite capacity, production order sequencing. Then after that period of time where things are pretty much locked, you have a longer period of time where no longer capacity is the main thing that you should be concerned about, but it's demand. And with demand, it is more a time planning. So this is MRP, material requirements planning, and you have the planning worksheet, which is a really, really strong tool in Business Central to help with this. And after that, you have demand forecasting, and then you even have asset planning and stuff like this. And so when it comes to production scheduling, make sure that you look at this. Make sure that you don't look for a scheduling solution to help you solve this or help you solve this or help you solve this. And like there are different tools that are left and right to scheduling. So there are different tools that your scheduling solution should integrate with in terms of when it comes to execution or when it comes to planning. scheduling itself should not be primarily seen to help you run your shop today, and is also not a tool to help you kind of do the midterm demand planning. Likewise, the planning worksheet that you get from Business Central is not the right tool to run your shop today. And the machine-centered task list that you have is also not the right tool to schedule. So make sure that you get kind of a differentiation of what do you need to run your shop today, what do you need to schedule it for a certain period of time after today, and what is your midterm? What are your midterm planning tools? And this is conceptually really, really important. And a lot of people that I meet, a lot of customers that I've been talking to, they initially didn't see this. So they are trying to kind of do everything with the planning worksheet, or they are trying to do everything with their MES system, or they are trying to do everything with the visual scheduling tool that they implement. But to me, this is kind of not only conceptually wrong, but it is really dangerous. It is like going to the dentist and then seeing the guy with a big drill coming. So make sure that you think about what the purpose is, and then select the right tools. And the purpose of running your shop today, of finite capacity scheduling for the next couple of days or weeks, and the midterm demand planning, very different purposes, very different challenges, and hence most likely the need to apply different tools. The fourth trap that you can fall into when it comes to scheduling is a lack of direction. So I sort of, okay, let's think about a sign that shows of the direction where we want to go with scheduling. And then I also asked a couple of people in our company, hey, actually, what should you think of? What do you want to achieve with scheduling? And then, like, of course, people might say, okay, I want to introduce a scheduling software because I want to make sure that I never miss a delivery date. A very, very clear direction. But then you speak to another person in the same company. So maybe this is an ops person, and then like you talk to the plant manager, and he says, well, you know, I'm delivery dates are important, but even more important is that I optimize the utilization of my most expensive machines, right? Because I have KPIs on machine utilization, and this is what counts to me. And they are a little bit contradictory, right? If you optimize for delivery date or for machine utilization, this can lead in the same direction, but it can be also guiding you in different directions. And then you talk to the next person, and then you say, well, you know, I want to minimize setup times because setup time are setup cost. And if this is too high, then I get penalized, and I want to run campaigns, right? I want to run campaigns from on the profile stamping from small to thick, or I want to run campaigns with my colors on the painting line or whatever. And this not necessarily make sure that the machine is utilized in the best possible way. And this also actually might compromise meeting delivery date. So another direction. And then you talk to another person within the customer and say, okay, what do you want to achieve with scheduling? You say, well, you know, I want to keep my work in progress really to a minimum, right? Now we are post-COVID, and a lot of raw material prices are insanely increasing. So here in Germany, like the price for wood, for wood that you need in construction, almost doubled. Last week I spoke to a customer in the United States. They are a metal fabricator, and he told me that some of his raw material within 2 months price up by 60%. So he said, okay, I need to keep my WIP at a minimum because I need to make sure that whenever I buy stuff, I get it processed as fast as I can. And again, this might be contrary to this, this might be contrary to this, this might definitely be contrary to this. And then you speak to the next person, and he's maybe a little bit down to earth, and say, you know what? I just want to understand what's happening on my shop floor. I want to look at it and then just deal with exceptions. And exception might be that setup times are too long. Exception might be that VIP is too long. Exception might be that I miss a delivery. That I just want to deal with this on case by case. And I have seen, like, I've drawn charts like this when bringing customers live with our products. And this was within one account, within one customer. You interview the one guy, he said, okay, we want to go there. Then you interview the other guy and tell, we want to go there, and the next one, we want to go there. And this is a problem, because like with one tool, fulfilling all those purposes at some point of time may not work. So you need to make compromises. You need to get a clear direction and a clear plan where you want to go to. So in this case, I advise customers, articulate scheduling goals and make them smart. So make them measurable, make them attainable, make them realistic, give them a timeline, right? And then prioritize them. Say, this is my number one goal to kind of go for with scheduling software in the first step. And pick the low-hanging fruit, apply the Pareto rule, because with like you will achieve 80% of what you achieve with pursuing 20% of the rules, of the goals. This is a proven principle. So don't go for all of your goals at one point of time. Make your goals smart and then prioritize one. Select low-hanging fruit. Go for it first with the scheduling software. Then decide what comes afterwards. And then also leave the path a little bit foggy, because when you are here, you have gained a lot of experience. And based on your experience, you actually might recognize that the next target should be here, but the way to go there should be somewhat this. So make sure where you want to go with the scheduling software, but avoid having this. Make sure, okay, I start with this. I start with transparency on my schedule and deal with exception. And this brings me from here to here. And then my next step is, okay, now that this is clear, I want to have a mechanism in place that helps me give delivery times commitment better. And when I'm here, then I can decide, okay, now that I'm good in serving my customers on time, I want to do this more efficient. So I want to optimize for setup time or reduce setup time so that I can get the same output, but more efficiently. But don't try to do everything in one go. It will just create confusion. And it will even create more confusion if you ignore the fact that there is something that we can call scheduling fitness. And we all have seen these tools. We all have worked with each other. We know these fitness trackers, the step trackers, or like this is sleep quality and heart rate. We all know these tools, and knowing these tools and knowing which value they can have, I would bet, like, being aware of things like heart rate and step frequency and fitness of your body, you never would think of running a marathon without training, without practicing, and by the way, also without changing your nutrition, right? You just wouldn't do this. And this is very obvious. This is very obvious that your body and you need to be in a good condition to do some sports. And if the sports becomes more challenging, you need to practice. And it's not wrong to measure your efforts and to see how you improve. This is what we've been doing since we were kids. And now we have these gadgets that support us with this. But the concept of like the body fitness is trivial to all of us. But in the same way that this applies for like body fitness, it also applies for scheduling fitness. And I know I have seen a lot of customers who really are stuck with scheduling on a whiteboard or on a corkboard or an Excel. So they have some manual tools to schedule, and then they say, okay, we want to get away from it. We have been a couch potato, right? We have been eating chips and watching Netflix, and now we want to run a marathon. We got stuck with Excel, so now we want to go to APS. We now do everything. We select an automatic advanced planning scheduling system. And going from Excel-based scheduling or whiteboard-based scheduling to an automatic advanced planning and scheduling system, an APS system, is the same as if you would do this. And I know that there are vendors out there who said, well, you know, scheduling is something you don't need to care about. You just need to give your data to a scheduler, and then you get your perfect schedule, and then you can give it to the people and have them execute. This is really dangerous. It is on the assumption that this would work without causing this to freak out and even like some physical health issues. So in my experience, scheduling is not a magic pill. It is not something that you implement, press a button, and then it does everything for you. In my experience, like with running or with cycling or with any other sport, like scheduling is a discipline that, of course, requires a tool. It requires an appropriate tool, and the tools can be big and the tools can be powerful and expensive, but it also requires constant usage. Like you need to have routines. Like from time to time, I have phases where I run a lot, but then I have routines. I do it in the morning, like get up at 6, have your running shoes on at 6:10, and then go and run. Be back at whatever, at 7. And then I have routines, and I know I will do this every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. Or like my boys, they are football. Like they have days when they practice. So they have like a constant, they build routines when they play football, and they train. They continuously improve. They work on their techniques. They work on their shooting skills. They work on their passing skills. They work on their receiving skills. They work on the first contact skills. They work on like individual tactics, group tactics. They have routines that they go to the football pitch and they train to become better. And they do it with a tool, right? I have to buy new football shoes perceived every quarter and new balls, but that's okay. And the same is the scheduling. You have a tool, but you need to constantly use it and then constantly improve the way that you use it. This is a matter of fact. And then the last hard trap that you can fall in is if you or your customer have a do-it-yourself mentality, right? This is a visual schedule. It looks so easy. I see my machines, I see my operations, I see some work-free times, and I see some other information. I just can drag and drop it around, and yeah, it is so easy. Well, most likely, you hire some consultants to help you setting up some trivial stuff in your ERP. Or if you're a partner, you get hired sometimes to help your customers with some trivial stuff in your ERP. And sometimes I see partners like setting up the bank account in the ERP for the customers. Okay, so if we need experts to set up trivial stuff in the ERP, why shouldn't we also get in experts to help customers gain scheduling fitness fast? I think this is nothing that customers can embrace in a do-it-yourself mentality, even if it looks nice and easy to use. But this is something where scheduling experts can really help. And with this, I know that you now might feel, hey, stop, can we get a demo, please? And yes, now that we have run through the 6 traps that you can fall in and that can prevent you from jump-starting Business Central production scheduling, actually let's look like what you can achieve with the right mix of, let's say, mindset, experience, and the right tool. And let me look at the first case, and let me look on how this can look like. So in terms of perfectionism bigger than pragmatism, I said, well, honestly, for me, it's okay if I'm not going for the most sophisticated solution. I go for one that fits best. And I just work with the minimum data required and with standard business central. So I set up work centers, I set up machine centers, I have a shop floor, a shop calendar, and I have production orders with routings. I take a visual scheduler, I take a drag and drop scheduler that works with my work order list. So I want to kind of left integrate into today so that whenever I make scheduling changes that my work order lists are updated. But like MRP for me might be too complex and I can ignore it. So I don't need to take care for integrating with some MRP planning. What I want to achieve is I want to gain transparency and make easy to understand changes to my schedule in case that I need to do this. And I know, like I come from Excel Island and I want to walk before I run. However, I want to kind of learn to work within my ERP system. So I want to gain this transparency within my ERP system. And I download stuff from AppSource, but then I ask an expert for help. And the product that fits this mindset is the product that we call the Visual Production Scheduler, VPS. This is the product that really helps you to make your first steps into scheduling. And I even see some partners that use this product to train the customer standard Business Central. It integrates with vanilla Business Central. It does not require any other master data. It really works on the minimum data required, and it provides you with transparency very quickly. And now actually, let's have a quick look at what the production scheduler is and how it works. And of course, I talked too long, so I have to log in again. So the Visual Production Scheduler integrates with standard Business Central production module, and it gives you on one click of a mouse, without any complex installation, without any settings that you have to make, gives you a comprehensive overview of your production schedule. So my Visual Production Scheduler here opens with what we call the production order view. So I see my production orders by status. So I have no planned production orders here, but I have a bunch of firm planned production orders. I see their timing. I see my released production orders. I can drill into them so that I see what the operations are, what my routing steps are, and you see I have it pretty simple here. I have to mill it, I have to weld it, then it goes to a subcontractor for galvanizing, and then I have to assemble it and I have to quality control. And like if I double click on this, I get to the production order, I see the routings, and this is all standard Business Central. Of course, and you see it's just standard routing with some setup time, some runtime, very broad, very rough figures. So no rocket science at all. And of course, if now my galvanizing shop tells me, hey, you will not receive this material by the 12th, but you will receive this material later, then I can just drag and drop this. Maybe that I get this on Monday. Then this is pushed out, the successors are pushed out, and then I see, okay, if I get my material from the galvanizing shop on Monday, then I can finish assembly and quality control on Tuesday, and I see, hey, actually I would run a little bit late. If I want to see how my milling machine is loaded, then of course on the right mouse click I can say, okay, show me the same thing in what we call the capacity view, and then I see the same schedule by work and machine center, and see that like my drilling machines, my milling machines, they are pretty much loaded in this week and next week and the week after. And also from here, I could drag and drop stuff. And if I see that there is an overload or there is an issue on one machine, I could just drag this, for example, from here and whatever, move it to here. So from one machine onto the other machine. So this is like very, very quickly, and just to give you an understanding of what you can get with a very pragmatic, very hands-on approach. There is no rocket science in your master data. There is no rocket science in your tool. There is no integration with MRP. So it is really, really, really hands-on. This is a drag and drop scheduler. But imagine you or your customers come from an Excel island or come from a corkboard scheduling or a whiteboard scheduling where they manually move stuff around without seeing dependencies, without having a comprehensive view on their shop, then this is a major step forward. And you see there are a lot of buttons and icons here. So there is a lot of hidden functionality, which I can't show you now. But what I wanted to show you is that with a certain mindset and a certain understanding of where you are also in terms of your scheduling fitness or your client scheduling fitness, and your willingness also to accept cases like I have here, where my one sewing machine is overloaded, then this is a very pragmatic and very good tool to work with. Let me quickly look at a second case where the overall setting with the customer might be different. And again, I'm not going for the most sophisticated solution. I'm going for the one that fits best. But I'm not only working with standard Business Central, but I'm adding master data. So I made my homework with work centers, machine centers, routing, and now I'm adding relevant master data, such as alternative machines and production coefficients, or going forward, maybe also like a setup matrix that I reflect changeover times that might vary depending on item attributes or stuff like this. And I take a visual but automatic scheduler that integrates both with my MES, and so no longer work order list, and with MRP. So I really fill this gap between MES and MRP. And what I really want to do is I want to efficiently schedule new jobs and improve my delivery time commitment. So I need some scheduling efficiency. The pure manual drag and drop does not work. I want to improve my efficiency. And as a company, I worked with a drag and drop scheduler before. I established some scheduling routines. I got an understanding how this looks and feels if it's integrated in Business Central. I have some appearance. I'm working now, and now I want to run. And again, I can download a product from App Stores, but I make sure that I get help from somebody who knows the product and who knows scheduling. And we only have a couple of minutes left, but look, my requirement is scheduling efficiency, right? So let's look for the case where a customer plans by machine center, and the machine has a capacity of 1, and we have a pretty full schedule. We have seen the picture right now, right? And now a customer calls and they require 5 items as soon as possible. And I quickly need to answer 3 questions. When can I deliver this realistically? What would be the absolute earliest time for one of these 5 items? And which orders turn late if I squeeze in this particular item? And this is something that gets best answered with a product called Visual Advanced Production Scheduler. And we only have 5 minutes left in this webinar, or 7. So I will try to answer these 3 questions in just 5 minutes with Visual Advanced Production Scheduler, where we do finite capacity scheduling completely integrated in Business Central. And now let me get back to Business Central, and let me first pull out the VAPS. And you see there is some more sophistication. There is more stuff that you need to take care of, more stuff that you can set up. So you need to set up you can set up alternate routings. This were my example of the alternate machine centers. And then with the VAPS, you can make multiple simulations of your schedule. So first, what I want to do is a new simulation to check my schedule, which means we copy data from the production database into a separate table so that we don't mess up with your current execution. So then I can look at this. And if this opens now, you will recognize, or you recognize, that this looks pretty similar to the schedule we had before with my work center groups, with my machine centers, with my work centers, but you also see stuff here which is called the standby resource. So these are production orders that have been added to Business Central that I didn't schedule so far. And you see, like for this week and for next week and the week after, I have a pretty solid schedule. And so now the case was that actually a customer calls and asks for 5 items. So we have a sales order, and from the sales order get a production order. And let me quickly go to my sales orders. And I have prepared a sales order for this case. So this is the sales order that we are getting. It is for my lovely customer, the Canon Group. And they are asking for these 5 items. So they are asking for item 5000, 5001, 5002, and so on and so forth. And these are the quantities that they are requesting. And they want to have this on the 3rd of March. So I am going to create a production order from this sales order because I don't have this in my schedule. So I create a production order. I create this as a project order. So that I have one new production order that I add. And what I also do is, in my visual schedule, I want to see this firm plan production order that I just created. I want to see this visually in my schedule. So this is the one production order for the Canon Group from the sales order 1020 that I just created. It includes these 5 items. And in the visual production scheduler, I want this to show up, well, in black so that we can quickly see this. So now back to the visual advanced production scheduler, we see, hey, this is outdated because somebody added new data to Business Central that was not part of this schedule. So I quickly update the schedule. So I fetch new data from Business Central. And then you will see a lot of black items appearing here on standby that now needs to get scheduled. They now need to get scheduled. And the question of my customer was, hey, when can you deliver this as earliest? So what I can do is I can add everything from the standby resource to the schedule. And literally now the software looks for the earliest time that I can finish those production orders. So now everything has been scheduled, taking into account finite capacity. So there is no overload on my machines. And what I can do now is on a right mouse click, I can quickly say, show this in sales order view. So now I'm looking at the same production schedule, but from my sales order. So I have my sales order 1020, and then I can tell the customer, okay, this item 50, this is ready on the 26th of February. Item 5001 is ready on the 1st of March. Item 5002 is ready then, so I can give them really realistic delivery times because every production order has been added according to my capacity and according to all production orders that were scheduled before. And then from here, I can say, okay, actually with item 5003, we will start very early, but the machines are busy, so we will deliver it on the 2nd of March. And then the customer asks me, okay, what would be the earliest time that you can deliver it? Well, then I go back to the capacity view. And then we have a scheduling instrument that is called scheduled successors, which means accelerate this production order. But if I accelerate this production order, it uses capacity that would have been used for other production orders. So scheduled successors means I minimize the WIP, I minimize the work in progress for this production order. So I push it through my shop and I can tell the customer, actually, I will be able to deliver it by the 5th of February. But I also recognize now that some of my production orders get these red dots. So by accelerating this one and pushing it to the shop faster, I also know, okay, this one, and this one, they now run late. And in 5 minutes, I have given really precise answers to these questions by applying a visual advanced production scheduler, by applying a tool that is not perfect, but that is pragmatic, that works with minimalistic master data plus a very few enhancements. I needed a bit of scheduling fitness to do it. And of course, I needed a bit of help from an expert to do. And with this, I think I showed you what you need to do, or I shared with you some lessons learned that we gained by what you should take care of if you want to jumpstart production scheduling with Business Central. And it is really less about the tool that you implement, but it is more about the processes, the methodology, and also the mindset. And with this, I open it up for question and would like to thank you very much for your attention and that you were here with me today. I hope that we continue to stay safe and healthy. And as I said, if you have questions, please ask them in the GoToWebinar chat pane. And if you don't want to do it now, send me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. It was really a pleasure to have you in this webinar. And I would also appreciate if some of you guys can send me some feedback if next time you want to see more demo again, or if from time to time I also should share lessons learned and experiences that we win from dealing with customers. So I see no questions right now, but I really, really would appreciate this feedback if also these kind of lessons learned and experiences gained webinars are useful for you guys, or if I, as a software guy, should stick to showing software. And with this, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.